Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Matt Tebow with Stacked, and I am joined right now by Galen, the head coach of Counterlogic Gaming. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. So, let's get right into it. The week's over. First phase of the walk-in tournament for you guys is done. How are you and the team feeling right now?
Mixed emotions. We are out of the tournament now, I believe. We went 1-3. We were, I believe, the only team in our group to play two games in the first, or all four games in the first week. So there's mixed emotions, right? Being out of the tournament isn't a great feeling for us, but internally we've seen a lot of improvement even throughout each game, but especially throughout our practice over the past few weeks. So, it's a little bit bittersweet being out of the tournament, but, we're just looking towards the start of the season and continuing to improve.
Yeah, of course. And when looking towards the start of the season, that brings a bunch of new stuff. Like, of course, Paul Belter talked about in the LCS after interview with Dash, I believe it was, about how the team's had a couple cases of coronavirus through it. And of course, there's Finn and Brox's visa issues. Looking forward to that. How much do you think just getting past those two incidents? Well, I mean, we're still in a pandemic, but getting past the COVID infections and getting your full starting roster together, how much do you think that'll affect the team?
I think no matter what your roster is, you'll always run into problems. So I don't want to say that going through these incidents or having the full roster will fix everything. I think it's just important that we continue taking what we can from every game. And when we have our full roster, we'll just have to continue doing that.
And one other thing I wanted to ask, a lot of people have been like writing off CLG a little bit. I think there's been talks of like, oh, they don't have their roster, or when the roster comes together, it's going to be rough. Like, should people shouldn't be worried about CLG? What do you think? Do you think people should be like are rightfully skeptical, or do you think people are just overblowing this whole thing?
Yeah, so I think on any team, there is always players that, from the public perception, don't look like they're performing up to par with the rest of their teammates. Sometimes that's the case. Other times, the team's style or identity is pushed into a way that makes certain players look worse than they are. For example, if a certain top laner is sort of forced into being weak side, from the outside perspective, it looks like they're always just falling down in CS, and they're picking these champions that don't do much in the game. But internally, it's sort of the style that the team has agreed to. Through drafting this roster, that was something that we had in mind, and we were sort of looking for these players that were underrated. Did a long interview process with each player, Finn, Broxa, and Turtle as well, and feel like a lot of these players were sort of put into that position. And not to say it was wrong of their teams to do that, but just really believe that the players that we have in the roster that we built is these players are all really strong and really smart. They have the fundamentals to be a good team, so it's just I take a lot of responsibility on myself and the rest of the coaching staff to be able to find an identity that works for everybody. And if we can do that, we'll definitely be a strong team.
So do you think people have a right to be skeptical in this case then, or do you think they're kind of like overblown a little bit in that case?
I think people have a right to believe whatever they like to.
Okay.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
you're good.
Yeah, so just moving on a little bit, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Season 11 meta right now. What do you think of it? Do you think it's vibrant? Do you think it's stale? Do you think we're going to see a lot of experimentation over the next few weeks? What's your thoughts of the lay of the land here?
I'm really enjoying this meta. I think Riot's done a really good job over the past few years tuning the game into a more aggressive sort of game. Um, Creating a little bit more imbalance in the game, I think, is always good from a spectator point of view. I think right now it is a little bit stale, the meta, and it'll be interesting to see how it continues to pan out. Anytime there's a big change like this, teams will sort of default to comfort, and they'll stick to what's being played. I think as the season progresses, you'll see a lot more interesting things, and you'll see a lot more creativity when it comes to the meta.
Of course. And one last thing. You might be out of the tournament, but what do you want fans of CLG to expect come the season opener?
Hopefully our full roster. Um, And, other than that, I think the fans can expect continuous growth throughout the whole year. I really want to make that our goal internally, is just continue growing every week. As long as we're doing that, I think, we'll be a good spot come summer split and the end of the year.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, man. Once again, you can find us on stacked.gg for our website and our content. You can find us on Twitter on @stackedLOL. And you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/stackedLOL. And if you're already there, why don't you just go ahead and like and subscribe? It really helps us out a lot. Once again, thank you so much for your time, and good luck in preparation for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Of course.